Katy Perry is responsible for a Me Too moment. So Katy Perry is a judge on the new American Idol, and there's a guy who sang for her. He is a virgin who has never been kissed. His name is Benjamin Glaze. He's a 19-year-old cashier from Enid, Ohio, and apparently he sang beautifully on American Idol. And Katy Perry loved it so much that she came over and kissed him right on the lips. Right, moments before his audition. Instead, it came to, it wasn't even after he sang. He said it was a tad bit uncomfortable. His first kiss was a rite of passage he'd been putting off with consideration. He said, I wanted to save it for my first relationship. I wanted it to be special. Would I have done it if she said, would you kiss me? No, I would have said no. I know a lot of guys would be like, heck yeah, but for me, I was raised in a conservative family. I was uncomfortable immediately. I wanted my first kiss to be special. The scene with the kiss was part of a 2-night season opener for the new American Idol, which is now on ABC after it was kicked off of Fox. And the new panel of celebrities is Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan, and it's hosted by Ryan Seacrest. In the segments that featured Mr. Glaze, he was shown waiting around in anticipation for his audition with other hopefuls. As he entered the studio, guitar slung over his shoulder, looking a bit starstruck, he said he enjoyed his work as a cashier because it let him meet cute girls. And have you kissed a girl and liked it? Asked Mr. Bryan, making a coy reference to Miss Perry's first hit single, I Kissed a Girl. Mr. Glaze said that he had not. And he said, I've never been in a relationship. I can't kiss a girl without being in a relationship. And then she stood up and she said, come here right now. And then she said, one on the cheek, and she smiled. And then she asked for another kiss, complaining he hadn't even made the smush sound. As he moved toward her cheek again, Miss Perry swung her face toward him and kissed him quickly on the lips. And then she raised her arms in victory. Okay, a Me Too moment that no one will care about because obviously, even though the contestant was not into it, even though he didn't want it, Katy Perry is a hot liberal, so we are allowed to pretend that that's all okay. Yep, that's the way that it works. Imagine that had been a conservative dude doing that to a virginal feminist, and imagine how that would have gone. The answer is it would not have gone. Okay, when I talk about the Democrats being at a complete disconnect with the American people, nowhere is this more obvious than when it comes to disdain for religion. So yesterday on The View, Joy Behar, who is just an insufferable human being, Joy, which, again, Joy, have me on your show. Right? I know that's a hell of a pitch. You're insufferable. Have me on your show. But nonetheless, The View, I think they are probably a little afraid to have me on that show, which I would be too if I were their producers. In any case, Joy Behar goes after Mike Pence yesterday in the most disgusting terms about his religious observance.
It's one thing to talk to Jesus. It's another thing when Jesus talks to you.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's different.
Mental illness, if I'm not correct.
But I'm
hearing voices.
Okay, so just to be straight about how the left views religious people, if you say that you heard the voice of God, okay, what you mean usually, okay, let me just explain on behalf of religious people everywhere. When you say that you got a message from God, you don't actually mean that God sent you an email. Okay, it's not Bruce Almighty. This is not God picks up the phone and calls you. It's not Joan of Arc. You're hearing actual godly voices. What you get is a feeling that perhaps you're acting in consonance with your meaning in the universe, okay? That you're acting in consonance with what God wants of you as you can decipher it in his word. Okay, that's what we mean as religious people. We don't mean that we're sitting around and Jesus starts talking to us. Say, ha, this is Jesus, okay? That's not what we mean. Mike Pence, I don't know why he has a southern accent either, but the idea that Mike Pence is sitting around in the VP office waiting for Jesus to give him orders is insipid. I will also point out that Joy Behar would be the first person to say that men who say they are women do not have a mental illness. So if you're a man and you say you're a woman, you're not mentally ill. If you're a woman and you say you're a man, you're not mentally ill. But if you're a religious person and you say that you are trying to believe according to the dictates of Jesus and that you feel that you've gotten messages from Christ in your life, that this means that you're a full-on nutso. It's that sort of disdain for religion that is driving millions of people in the United States away from people like Joy Behar. It's not just Joy Behar. One of the people who's been most irritating about the Olympics is an ice skater named Adam Rippon. He's gay, which wouldn't make a difference, except he has made this the entirety of his identity. And when I say, I mean, like, he's made it his entire public persona. Not that he's a great ice skater, which apparently he is, but that he is gay and that he hates Mike Pence. So he apparently was ripping on Pence for being at the Olympics in the first place, suggesting that Mike Pence was for gay conversion therapy. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is not true. There is no evidence to support it whatsoever. Doesn't matter. He trotted that out. And then when Pence said, you know what? That's not true about me. I'd love to sit down with you. Rippon said, I'll never meet with you. So obviously a very tolerant dude. Well, yesterday he came out and he says, listen, I don't want my Olympic experience to be about Mike Pence. So let's get this straight. You punch Mike Pence in the face rhetorically, and then you run screaming from the room. And then you say you don't want your Olympic experience to be about Mike Pence because you've implied that religious people all over the United States hate gay folks. Here is Adam Rippon doing the same routine.
And I don't want my Olympic experience to be about Mike Pence.
Well, it's a little late for that. It's a little late for that. You rip Mike Pence as a religious bigot, and then you come out and you say, well, I don't want my Olympic experience to be like that. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to rip Mike Pence as a religious bigot, and by extension, all of the people in America who are evangelical Christians as religious bigots. It's not just that, okay? The culture wars that the left launched brought them Trump. Okay? When I say this is how you got Trump, this is how you got Trump. You got a bunch of people in America who feel like they are constantly being set upon and torn to shreds for simply being religious people, or simply being white, right, in some cases, based on the intersectional politics of the left, or simply for being in a Midwestern state. Right? There are all these groups that the left has seen as great oppressors in American life: white folks, males, religious people. And then the left sets upon those people, and those people say, well, you know what? I'm going to vote for that guy who at least doesn't crap on me all the time. But this is what the Democratic Party does. This is what people on the left do on a routine basis. You want to reach out to folks, you want to win elections, then maybe you ought to stop trying to alienate them with incredibly radical language. And maybe you ought to stop with the fawning media coverage for social issues that are at best deeply controversial. So CNN, for example, has a piece today about this tragic case where parents want custody of their 17-year-old girl. Okay, listen to how CNN covers this. Here's the story, okay? I'll tell you the story. It's a 17-year-old girl. She thinks she's a boy, right? She's transgender. And so she wants hormone treatment. And she went and she got some doctors who say that she should have hormone treatment. And then she tried to have custody handed over to the grandparents. The parents said, listen, you're going to be 18. When you're 18, we can't do anything to stop you. But when you're 17, not on our watch. On our watch, you're not going to have surgeries and mutilate your genitals. You're not going to have surgeries and mutilate your breasts. We're not going to allow you to have hormone treatment and mutilate your body. That's not something that we're going to allow you to do because we don't think that that is the best treatment. We don't think that the scientific evidence is there. Okay, the scientific on this stuff, evidence on this is at best mixed. It is at best mixed. There are studies that suggest that suicidality, the suicide attempt rate goes down for people who attempt transgender surgery. There's also some evidence that suggests that after a certain period of time, the suicide rate goes back up. So the evidence is just not, it's not perfect in any direction. This is not a cure-all by any stretch of the imagination. But here is how this is going down. CNN writes, quote, an Ohio court will decide the fate of a transgender teen who is in what the judge describes as a gut-wrenching situation. The 17-year-old identifies as a boy. Neither he nor his family can be named according to court instructions. So notice already how CNN starts calling this girl he. Right? This is a biological woman, and CNN is already calling this girl he in order to bias the case. Because if the parents won't acknowledge it, CNN will. The teen's parents want court authority to stop their child from getting the treatment and therapy that was recommended by his medical team in what it characterizes as a possible life or death situation. What makes it a life or death situation? Apparently, the teen is suicidal. And they're suggesting that the cure for the suicidality is hormone treatment and or genital disfigurement. And that is what this team of medical experts suggest. Well, maybe there's another team of medical experts that suggests differently. And the parents could consult a variety of medical experts. But now, courts in the United States are going to talk about, this is going to be the next step. You want to talk about culture wars? This is the culture war. The next step is going to be you have a 5-year-old child, and your child says that she is a he, and you say, sweetheart, no, you're not. You're going to outgrow this. You know, we'll go and we'll talk to somebody about this, but you're a girl, and we're going to try and get through this together in the best, most healthy possible way. Courts will be sent in by the left to take your child away from you. This is the next step. It's already happening in Canada under Bill C-16, and this is what they're going to do. According to CNN, the teen was hospitalized in 2016. He had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorder and gender dysphoria, according to court records. This is the key, by the way. This is the reason why the APA's evidenceless reclassification of gender identity disorder to gender dysphoria actually matters. So gender identity disorder suggests that that when you are disordered, right, when you're a male who believes that you're a female, that this is a disorder, and associated with that disorder are depression and upset, right, but it is a disorder that must be treated head on. Gender dysphoria, they say that's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal if you're a man who believes you're a woman. The only thing that's problematic is if it crosses over with depression, right? There's no actual delusion. You're actually a man in a woman's body, but it's only a problem if you're depressed. So the idea is if you treat the depression, then you'll be alleviating the gender dysphoria. The evidence for this is nil. It does not exist. The idea that if you alleviate all of the life forces, that the suicide rate goes down to normal, non-disordered levels is just not true, right? There's no evidence that the suicide attempt rate in the transgender community post-surgery, or if everybody calls you by your preferred pronoun, goes down to the normal rate of a normal man or a normal woman who does not believe they're a member of the opposite sex. Doesn't matter. The court is probably going to try and take away this kid and give the kid to the grandparents, who apparently are going to go along with the treatment. And they're saying that apparently the attorney for the family says the parents maintain that they love their child and said the child's mother said the child has nothing to fear from her and she wants to have a relationship with her child. She also acknowledged that if the parents are granted custody, they want the child to continue to live with the maternal grandparent, not in an effort to avoid parenting their child, but because they believe that the current living arrangements is in the teen's best interest. But they say this kid is not capable of making a life-altering decision right now. The court is going to disagree, and they're going to say that if they call the kid by the kid's normal name, if they say that the she is a she, then the kid is going to commit suicide. That means that it's on the parents. This is a very dangerous precedent that's being set. It's the reason why we're in the middle of a brutal culture war, and there are political aspects to this that are really a problem, that are a serious problem.